Okay, this is a test of an app, and I would like for you to use the pencil eraser to point to things. This app is called Just In Case, and it's used for emergency contact management. So this is your home screen. How would you log in your iPhone?
I would enter my ID and hit the return.
Okay, so presuming that you did that, how would you open Just In Case?
I would either do Touch ID here, or I would enter the password and hit Go.
If you wanted to find aid, what would you do? If you needed to contact state aid, what would you do? So what would you do? Enter the zip code? If you wanted to go to federal aid, what would you do? If you wanted to send the file to someone so they had your emergency contact information, what would you do? If you wanted to look someone up, what would you do? If you needed to contact a vet, what would you do? Okay, and then a vet contact would come up. Your vet list of contacts would come up. If you wanted to add a category, what would you do? If you wanted to look a person up, what would you do? Okay. Is there anything that you would add to this app?
Not that I can think of.
Is the app clear?
I think so.
Would you find the app useful?
I think so.
Are there any questions you have about the app?
Nope.
Are there any comments you would like to add about the app?
Nope.
Thank you for your time. This is a test of the Just In Case app. Please enter your passcode or Touch ID to start. If you wanted to enter a contact or find a contact, how would you do it? That would bring up a list of vet contacts. If you wanted to add up a contact, how would you do it? Are the fields clear?
Yes.
Are there any fields that you would want added?
Do you have one of these for categories?
Yes.
Okay, then no. We'll get to that when we get to categories.
Okay, if you wanted to go back to the home screen or one of the other categories, what would you do? One of the other functions.
Wouldn't I either hit this to go back to this would go back to more searching, to more search items. I'm not sure what these two are yet. They were on that other page, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay, click one and see what happens. Is that clear?
Yes. What is the benefit of encrypting the file?
So that your information is not gathered in the middle between you and the person you're sending it to.
Oh, yes, that is clear.
Now, if you wanted to go to another category, what would you do? The category is aid. So if you needed aid and you wanted to get medical aid, what would you do?
I suppose by clicking on these, you would get whatever medical aid is in that county, state, and federal. If you were to click on one of these.
Well, click on one of the other ones and see what happens. Is that county or state?
County. Okay.
What would happen if you wanted local?
You would click local.
Now, what if you wanted to go back to your contacts? What if you wanted to add anything, a category or a contact? What if you wanted to add a category?
Okay. So you can add whatever category you want. That's helpful.
And that idea is that category then becomes a drop down here.
For one of those.
And there's also an add function within that.
Which is really useful, actually. Because before, when I was thinking it depending on category, if you had one, like a category for primary contacts, like emergency contacts for family members and stuff, which you didn't have under, you have doctors, vets, and legal, and whatever else you had on that other page, but the fact that you can add that in is good.
Okay. Please take a look at these categories and tell me if there is something that you would add.
So I would add a family one. So for like primary contact, so if it's a kid who has this information, like it would be contacting like their primary caretakers, which would be their parents. If it's an adult, it would be contacting like their like closest kin, so either their parents or their children.
Okay.
And so that way you can have like or like a family / friends emergency contact one. So that way, if something happens to the person and somebody needs to get a hold of someone to tell them, hey, this happened, that way, like after they've taken them to the hospital or done whatever it is emergency wise that they need to take care of, that the person, whoever found them, can say, can be like, oh, these are their family members, these are their friends, the people that they want to be contacted if something were to happen.
Are there any categories on that front page that you think aren't as important? Or would you just add the family category?
Well, I would definitely add that family friends one. But
So maybe have a third row and have family and friends? And then one other category?
yeah,
Or do you think that would be too crowded?
I don't think you necessarily need to have a third row. I think you could just add it down here. So
Okay.
have one down here and have one down here. Or like have it be family friends in one, and then if you wanted to add, because family and friends is more like emergency contacts of who's most closest, who you want. So family friendship could potentially be slashed together. And that would leave you space for another category here if you wanted to. Otherwise, you could just do family and friends. I don't think you would, if you had an additional third one that you wanted to add, or like two others, depending on if you smushed family and friends together, or if you had like a third one that you wanted to add, then I would do it like the three down this way, as you were saying before. I don't think it would be too crowded as long as these aren't huge. The other thing you could do is, instead of having them be boxes, you could have them be banners and go across the entire screen. and so have it be like how the search bar is, and have it be doctors as one, legal as another, vet as another, finance, car, and school, and maybe color code them so you just click on a banner if you were worried about space. That way, and that way if you did them actually as banners, you could just scroll through. If you had, if someone decided, oh, I have all of these categories, all these contacts that I need to have in here, that way they could just scroll through. Oh, but if you wanted to keep it with boxes, you could do the same thing, and how we have on the phone right now, where you can swipe this way, you could swipe that way to do it. But I think most people will be more, if you were in a hurry to find something, swiping up and down is faster than swiping side to side.
Okay.
That's why I suggested banners.
That's really good feedback. Is there anything else that you would add to this just in case app?
Just as a user who has no idea what's going on the first page, before they start filling things out, so after this one, if you have a login, so you have find contact, find aid, send info, which is great. But you have an ad section here, so you could have that there as well.
On the front page.
On the front page, or because I know you have this front page, so it does tell you find contact, find aid, send info, which lets you know what's what. But I don't know. These two are pretty easy to figure out. The flag just threw me for a loop a little bit because I couldn't figure out what it was at first. But
Well, it doesn't have to be a black flag.
it doesn't have to be a black flag. Perhaps if you have, oh no, that might get too cluttered. I was gonna suggest maybe in small lettering under each have aid, info, ad, and then for that one just contact. But that might get too cluttered.
Would a white flag be clearer?
Yeah, white flag would probably be clearer because you send up a white flag in cases of surrendering and needing help. So that might be better. Or a red cross like you have on the on this page with, well, that's one of them. But how you have the red cross here. That to me, I know you have that as medical, and you probably don't want to switch that out, but you don't want to have two of the same thing. But if you put that as the find aid symbol instead, and then write this out as medical, that might be even clearer. But if you want to keep that like that, if you want to keep the medical symbol as that, so it's very clear that that's medical and that's where people can go right away if they need medical information, I would definitely switch this to either a white or a red flag.
Okay, that's good feedback. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's pretty clear.
Is this an app that you would consider using?
Yeah, probably. It would be very handy. The only question I have is, would the only place to be able to access it for someone who is not the user of this phone, who doesn't know the passcode and doesn't have a Touch ID, would they be able to get to this?
Well, that is the reason for sending the information to someone else.
Oh, what, through the email? Oh, gotcha. That's why you have that encrypt thing and everything. Okay, that makes a whole lot more sense. So you would have to fill everything out, email it to whoever it is, whoever's your primary person that you want to know all of this information.
If there's an emergency.
If there's an emergency. Okay. Yeah. What would be great is if you could like somehow get it to connect, because you know how you have emergency and camera normally on the front screen. If there was some way to like pull it up from like the up screen
Oh, as a notification
as like
kind
a
of thing.
notification type thing, because you can pull down to like get news and calendar information on the top if you go down this way, and if you pull up you can get like, do I want to connect to Bluetooth, or like the brightness of my screen, and if you swipe this way you can get camera, and if you swipe this way you get this, but you also have that down there. So if you could somehow connect it to either this one or this one, so that if somebody who's there on the site of the scene with the person, in case the person is like too discombobulated to say this is my password, or like here's my finger, like open up my because like sometimes Touch ID doesn't work very well. I know they've got facial recognition on the newer phones, but if you have an older phone, not going to do you much good. But if you could somehow get that so that the person who's there in the immediate area, who was there, who saw it, who's like trying to help them out, would also be able to like get that information, that might also be a good thing.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.